Hello, I am Erica. I'm presenting to you from Australia, as you can probably tell from my accent. I'm going to be talking to you about cockatoos. So we're going back to the bush, I guess. So quick black cockatoo recap for anyone who's not super familiar. We have 5 species here in Australia, and they're only found in Australia. They're in the they're in the genus Calyptorhynchus, and that actually means hidden beak. So I like to call that the fluff and chops. So that's the fluffy face feathers that when they're kind of a bit happy or alarmed, they might fluff them forward to cover their beak. And contrary to what some people think, the palm cockatoo and the gang cockatoo are not actually black cockatoos. They're just cockatoos that happen to be black, which I often have to tell people. So my study species is the Forest Red-tailed Black-cockatoo, which is known in the local Indigenous language, which is the Noongar, as the Karak, but we also call them the red-tail. And it's a large sexually dimorphic black cockatoo, as you can see here. So the male is a solid black with these red tail panels, and then the female is black, but has this amazing like starry speckled yellow on the face, and then yellowy orangey barring on the body, and then yellow orange red stripes on the tail. And the juveniles also have this patterning. So you have to rely on behaviors and calls often to determine females and juveniles from each other. So there are 5 subspecies. 2 of them are listed as vulnerable, including this subspecies that I was working on. And the total population estimate for the Forest Red-tailed Black-cockatoo is between 6 and 15,000. It's a very difficult species to get an estimation of because of just the relatively large area they inhabit and just the population dynamics and how they move and habitat. So traditionally they live in a tall forest. They are granivorous, so they mostly eat seeds, and they need big nest hollows, big tree hollows to nest in. And most of those are in this really large eucalypt called a marri, which you'll see a bit more about later. Family units, like many parrot species, they live in this sort of fission fusion society, but these guys they'll roost in large flocks overnight, but then during the day they split up into one or a handful of family units to go and forage, which is a bit different to some of the other black cockatoo species and then the other like white cockatoo species we have in Australia. So you can sometimes use these, or you can often use these family units to kind of help you determine who you have and what you're looking at. So if you've got 2, you usually have a male and a female together. If you've got 3, you'll have a male, a female, and one juvenile. If you've got 4, you've either got a male and a female and 2 juvies, or 2 males and 2 females. So basically, count the number of males and then work out the females and juvies by watching and listening to the behavior and the calls. So if we have a look at Australia and we look down here in the southwest corner, this is where Perth is, which is where my study area was. And we've got Perth Metro here. You can see all the lovely grey of the built-up area. And then this is a little escarpment here where we go up into the hills. And then this dark green is the Jarrah Forest, which is where the cockatoos traditionally live. And around the year 2000, when the drought, huge drought here in Australia, millennium drought, and around the year 2000, the drought was at its peak, and the cockatoos started coming down out of the forest into the Perth metro area. And you can see this with this lovely gift that I made with observation records. And over the next 20 years or so, more and more cockatoos started coming into the city. And immediately, most people think, oh, well, they're forced to come to the city. They're being forced out of the forest. Something bad must be happening, right? They have to come to the forest because animals don't normally choose to come into a city, right? Especially something as large and specialized as a black cockatoo. So I started looking at this, like why have they come to the city? What is going on? These are the main questions that I was asking. I had a few more, but this is the ones that are relevant here. So um, how how are they adapting to the urban areas in the city? What kind of foods were they eating and why? And what kind of trees did they like in the city? And like humans, they wanted to come to the cities for the urban amenities that were on offer. And while they might not have been drinking a coffee down at the local cafe or buying groceries down at the local supermarket, they did come for the food. So I spent a lot of time spying on cockatoos and came up with this diet list. This has now expanded quite a bit. But basically, in the forest, the cockatoos mostly feed on five species, and they're all native. So we've got Marri, which is this one. So they produce really large gum nuts. Jarrah, which is this one down here, which is smaller gum nuts. We've got bull oak and bullich, which are these two other eucalypts. And then we've got a she oak species here, which produces these little cones with tiny little seeds in there. And then in the city, they feed on the Marri, the Jarrah, and a she oak, and then all of these other species. And as you'll see, every single other one of these is non-native. And you'll see some other eucalypt species on this list. And yes, technically native to Australia, but not native to southwest Western Australia and the Perth region where the cockatoos are from. And the same with this Melia. So this is Cape Lilac, which you're going to hear an awful lot about. Technically, it is native to Australia, but it's only native to the northern part of Australia. So not anywhere where these cockatoos would normally encounter it. It's planted of all over Perth and in quite a lot of other places in Australia as a street tree because it provides really good shade and it's deciduous. And so you'll see here, shows a lot of different sizes and shapes of foods and fruits, and especially this one here, this eucalypt, it's called Iliari. It's huge. And while I didn't end up including it in my analyses because I didn't have that many observations of it, it took the cockatoos over 10 minutes to chew through this. So why? The seeds are tiny. And so I'm focusing on these three, the Marri and the Jarrah and the Cape Lilac. And here we have some images of the cockatoos, what it looks like for a cockatoo feeding on these species. You can see the quite large fruits, smaller ones on the Jarrah, and then smaller again on the Cape Lilac. So about the size of like a ping pong ball, about the size of a marble here with the Jarrah, and then about the size of a peanut for the Cape Lilac. And they chew these out to get the seeds out. And so you can see here, this is what it looks like after the cockatoos have had a go at them. So they use their huge beaks just to chew through the outside of the fruits and get the seed out. And these ones actually are a bit unusual. So normally they would go around the top of the Marri fruit like a little can opener and then get the fruit the seeds out. So this one here went in the sides. So that was a bit interesting. And this is some examples of the foraging residue of some of those other fruits. So this is the she oak. This is that one of the other eucalypt This is an Eastern States eucalypt, which has got very, very small fruits, also very common street tree. And then this is that huge iliary that they just kind of seem to chew on it. I didn't know if it was boredom or beak maintenance or something like that. Um, but yeah, doesn't happen very often. So I spent a lot of time, as I said, trying to work out why they did this, and that involved me chasing the cockatoos around. Unfortunately, I couldn't just ask them why they liked this Cape lilac in particular so much. They didn't answer me, unfortunately. So I ended up collecting an awful lot of data. And one thing about eucalypts is that they are very unpredictable with their fruiting, and they're also very inconsistent with their fruiting. So just because a eucalypt has might have a whole canopy full of flowers or fruit buds doesn't necessarily mean that it will produce a lot of fruit. Something might happen, or it just might not actually produce fruit. They're also in the forest. There's a lot of risk from fire, drought, mining activities. The forest is more and more impacted by mines, bauxite mining in particular in this forest for the aluminium. The cockatoos, they will only eat the seeds from the green fruits, so at the unripe stage. And then also because of the way that eucalypts produce seed, the fruits hang upside down on the tree, and then they open from the valves open from the bottom when the fruits ripen, I guess, and the seeds fall out, and then they're on the ground. Um, and these cockatoos don't like feeding on the ground, especially in the forest, in part because it's so closed in, and it's also a predation risk, I guess. However, there is generally gum nuts somewhere available in the forest at some point. Like at any point in time, there will be food somewhere in the forest if they go looking for it. Whereas the Cape lilac, because it's a deciduous species, it's very, very predictable. It always fruits at the same time of the year, every year. So that's early summer here. And the fruits stay on the tree for 10 to 12 months of the year. So they don't fall off once they get ripe. They just stay on there until the next year. And the cockatoos will eat the seeds from the fruits at any stage during the ripening. So they just stay within the fruit, even as the fruit just gets all manky and gross and dries up. The seeds are still in there and the cockatoos will still feed on them. They also know somehow through that. Don was talking about how how parrots know where food is in the landscape. These cockatoos know where it is. They seem to have this like map, spatial map of where all the Cape lilac trees are in the landscape. This is the one that was in my backyard, and once every year when the fruit was developing and getting towards being the right stage to start feeding on, this family group of cockatoos would fly in every day, stop for a little bit, have a look. Oh, yeah, not ready yet. They'd fly on. And then once it was ready, they'd be back there every single day until they'd eaten all the food. So they know where the food they are in the landscape, and they tell their friends about it. They tell their mates. So it's available and it's predictable. And generally, urban areas are sort of safe zones for trees, although this particular species is losing popularity in urban areas. So they're being removed from the landscape in quite a lot of places for urban infill. And then ironically, because some people don't like the mess that the cockatoos make when they're feeding in the trees, because as everybody here knows, cockatoos and parrots are very messy when they eat. So there's a lot of debris left behind. So here's a cockatoo with a bit of takeaway. Why do the cockatoos like the Cape lilac as a novel food? They know when it's fruiting and they know where it is in the landscape. So it's better for them with reliability and predictability than some of those eucalypts that they would normally feed on. But what else about it is makes it attractive? And so, as I said, I spent a lot of time spying on cockatoos. So this was both in the forest and in people's backyards. Um, I never actually had the cops called on me, but I almost did on a couple of occasions. Fortunately, I had to quit talking, and a lot of people do like the cockatoos. So once I explained what I was doing, they were happy to let me film cockatoos in their backyards, which was nice. You can see them all here in the Cape Lilac. So this is towards the end of the season, so you can see all the leaves have fallen off. It's obviously sometime in winter, but the berries are still there on the tree. So it's available for a long time. Now, pretend you're a cockatoo. How are you going to eat your food? I put together this ethogram, and basically, we've sort of covered this a little bit in one of the earlier talks, but once you've landed in your tree looking for your food, you have to actually find the particular piece of fruit. And that might involve walking through some branches, negotiating some shrubbery, actually finding like a twig with a bunch of fruit on it or something. And so you've got your search stage, and then you actually pick the fruit, and then you need to prepare, you need to manipulate that bundle of fruit, or maybe snap off one large gum nut, and then orient it correctly so you can chew it from the right direction to access the seeds without them falling out. There's a lot of handling involved in processing and preparing fruit for eating. And then once you're settled, then you start with your chewing and your sorting. So it's not just a matter of taking a bite and eating it. A lot of these seeds are contained within the fruit uh, husk, capsule, whatever, and then they've got like little outer layer as well. And so the cockatoos spend a lot of time like chewing the husk of the fruit and then sorting the seeds. It's what I called it, sort seeds. And so they'll manipulate it with their tongue. And so this is the processing time. And then once they're done, they'll drop the fruit and then they'll go look for a new one. And so after I'd recorded all my video, I spent a lot of time analyzing the video, so much video coding, and I ended up with some data. And as you can see here, this is the Maori, that big old gum nut. This is the little gum nut, and this is that Cape Lilac new fruit. As you can see here, unsurprisingly, the Cape Lilac and the smaller gum nut infinitely faster to process than that big gum nut. Um, The Cape Lilac is 13 times faster to process. So this 2 minutes to process one of those big gum nuts. So if you think about it in the context of like a captive bird eating like a pellet or something, much more involved, much more um, like brain work required to process and pull out all those little bits of seed and yeah. And then selection of that fruit as well and manipulating a different size and weirdly shaped item. Um, but then, even though it's quicker to eat, what are they actually getting out of that? So, based on seed weights, I calculated the foraging efficiency. So, how much seed are they actually getting from these fruits for the time that they're spending feeding? And you'll see it's the inverse. So, we've got the Maori, the big gum nut, the little gum nut, and then the Cape Lilac. And the Cape Lilac, it's got small seeds, well, smallish seeds, but they're really dense and heavy. So it's super efficient in comparison to both of the gum nuts. So if you think about it, it makes sense when you look at efficiencies that in the forest, the cockatoos feed on both of these gum nut species. Um, it, it, equally, that's the word. They feed on them equally in the forest. even though the big gumnut takes a whole lot more time because they're getting the same reward from it. But in the city, why would they feed on gumnuts when they can just feed on this super efficient food? Now, I know you're probably thinking about um, what about nutrition, right? Now, I did collect a bunch of seeds and tried to send them off for nutritional analyses. Unfortunately, everyone wants you to send at least 2 kilos worth of seed. And just imagine how many gumnuts I would have to collect to send off 2 kilos worth of seed. So that was not feasible, unfortunately. I did find some um, numbers in some papers. So just using those numbers, we can see that the Cape lilac has approximately twice as much fat and protein as the Marri, which is the big gumnut. So again, why uh, is it like fast food for the cockatoos? If you think about the effort required to make a salad, for example. You have to go to the shops, buy all the ingredients, chop everything up, put it in a bowl, then sit down and eat it with a fork. Or you could just go down to McDonald's and get some chips at the drive-through. That's what I like to think about these cockatoos doing the equivalent of. But then thinking about everyone else's talks, is this actually nutritional wisdom or are they just being lazy? Are they actually making good food choices here? Um, who knows? We don't actually know what the long-term effects of this new diet is on the cockatoos. They have been eating the Cape lilac, or some of the population has been eating this Cape lilac for 25 years or so. Um, some of them bring their kids down into the city and feed them Cape lilac once they've fledged. Who knows if that's good, especially with that really high fat content. Um, are we going to end up with an impacted older population of cockatoos? Who knows? It's really hard to catch a cockatoo to assess them. So these are just some of the things about this novel food that makes it attractive to the cockatoos. So they know when it's fruiting, they know where it is in the landscape, it's predictable. Because it's so fast for them to eat, and it's higher in energy, and they get more seed, they can eat more in a shorter time, means they can spend less time feeding, which does give them more time for other activities like social bonding, sleeping. They can reach their daily energy goal in a shorter period of time, which is especially important in summer when it's really hot, really early. But yeah, what is this long-term impact? With regards to novel foods for enrichment, I do have a citizen science project which might be of use to some people. It's called the Hungry Parrots Project. So here in Australia, so many parrot species across the country feed on non-native species in urban areas. They're super adaptable. And so I started this citizen science project so we could record both this novel food use, but also work out what the traditional diets of these parrots are. Because for a lot of species, we don't actually know what they traditionally eat, not in urban areas. So feel free to check it out, add your own observations, start collecting observations from your own countries as well and add them in. And what you could do potentially, obviously consult your veterinarian, is if you have, especially in an Australian parrot species, because that's what most of these records are, look for safe food species, read the literature, check this, check for records here in the Hungry Parrots project. And then maybe you could collect some trial food species for either enrichment or diet supplementation from safe areas. Just make sure there's been no pesticide use or there's no toxins or anything like that. If you do collect anything from the wild, make sure you have permits to collect those plant materials if required. I know here in Australia you need special permits to collect plant material from most places. But you can also think about starting a food garden for your bird in your garden. So um, like plant some grevilleas for anything that loves to eat nectar or flowers. Plant a little eucalyptus sapling so you could give them like some buds or fruits or foliage, things like that. Even just to play with, even just to handle or get used to like different food items and smells, things like that. No, this is just a fun thing that I put together of all the different parts of a cockatoo. And the nutcracker is the most important part. Um, and then just in case, I don't know what time is it? If anyone's interested, I do have just some videos of like different wild parrot behaviors, if anyone wants to have a quick squeeze. So
Yeah, I
this
would
is a,
certainly let them run while people ask some questions. That would be a great
yeah.
way.
So this is a family unit. So this is the dad and this is the mum. And this one's this year's juvenile, and it's a male. We can tell because he's got a dark beak. And this is last year's juvenile. So this is a big happy family. It's not often that you get a group of four with two juvies. Must have been a good season.
Oh. So
And they're doing
they're likely to stay with the parents for more than one full year?
yeah. So they stay usually for up to 2 years.
Wow.
They're dependent.
Are
But as they get older, they become less needy and more independent and capable of feeding themselves.
oh, that's great. Um, Erica, let's see, there's a question. Did you happen to notice a difference in males and females as far as consumption of cake lilac, or was everybody basically eating at the same level?
Yeah, everyone's eating it the same because they come in that family unit and they'll all eat in the same place. Um,
So here's a,
and
go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say and if they've got a juvie with them, the parents will then feed the juvie whatever they've been eating as well, which will be cake lilac.
Great. Let's see. There's a question. Do parrots eat for interest and enrichment in the wild or just for necessity like songbirds that eat and run? Do they linger and lounge around? Um, and that I guess is the question.
So I did see some like playful foraging type behaviors. I think they more came from the juveniles. And I did see some exploratory behaviors as well. So like foraging behaviors. So I did see I did get like a couple of records of like a cockatoo eating like manna, which I'd never seen before. So that's like sap, old sap from one of the eucalypts. And then like the casuarina she oak flowers, which was really interesting because these guys don't eat flowers usually.
Hmm.
They basically only eat seed. Um, and then like this behavior here, they don't like going on the ground. So this was the first observation I'd seen of them foraging on the ground, and it was in the city. And if you have a look at them, this is why. Like their legs are so short that when they're on the ground, their bellies drag on the ground. Um, and so it takes them a lot of effort to get up off the ground when they're taking off. And if you compare that to some of the other parrot and cockatoo species that have longer legs, um,
Well,
it's it's really difficult for them because they don't have as much jumping power. Um, and yeah, so they got to, yeah, it's difficult.
Whereas a lot of the white cockatoos are very comfortable on the ground, right? And they're much
Yeah,
more able to, and the Rosella as well. Not the Rosella, the Gala as well, which will just
yeah, yeah. They've got longer legs, and these guys too. Like they've got oh, hold on, let me just go back here. Like the short legs and their toes are really long too. I always think they've got like they're wearing clown shoes or something. So short legs and clown shoes. So they're just really clumsy on the ground. Um, and so yeah, they just don't like going down on the ground. But they've started doing it more in the city, which is not great because then they take off into the road and get hit by cars.
yeah, which at the end the big question is this um is this going to be a source or a sink? Are they going to
Yeah,
breed at a higher rate than they die off, or and be a good thing for the populations, or are they going to be going into these areas and disappearing? So um,
yeah.
that's what we'll have to see long term, I guess. So okay, well that's great. We'll probably stop sharing and we'll put in our final thank you slides.
I do have, there's this might be of interest, just this one
Great.
family unit of a juvie being fed, just in case that's of interest.
Uh, do they usually fledge only one individual or
Yes, yeah. So I think they normally I think it's either one egg or two eggs. Two is very, very rare
got it?
because they take so much effort and energy to produce. You can see that it's being doted. They dote upon their children.
Yeah, that's what happens when you only have one.
Yeah. They're very annoying. They have two different types of begging calls. There's the "I'm hungry, feed me now," and the "I just want some attention, please" type of call.
I hear you. Yeah,
Um,
sounds like children. So great. Okay, well, thank you so much. And we have a couple logos to share here at the end.
how do I stop
As
there?
we so thank you so much to everyone. Thank you all for coming and sticking with us. We've still got 75 people here, which is great. We peaked at almost 120. Thank you so much to our speakers and to all of you for being here. The recordings will be made available. So you can find them at the Macaw Society. We have a YouTube channel as well. Um, and Gabby will be getting those up probably within the week. As I mentioned before, we are planning on sending everyone at least one or two emails with the email addresses that you use to register. And if anyone would like, there's a couple things here. Harrison's has quite a nice information session where they're trying to get out information on diets in general. Also, the Handbook of Avian Clinical Avian Medicine is available through the link that you can see here, the QR code on the Harrison side. If you're interested in following the Macaw Society for more events and news like this, we have Instagram and Facebook. And then in the middle is something that I haven't mentioned before. If you are working, and I know that many of the people here are working in rehabilitation or rehabilitation and release, the Parrot Release Network is a WhatsApp group. There's a QR code there in the middle that is dedicated to that. And we have about 250 participants who work in parrot rehab and release across most of the Americas, but anyone is welcome from across the world. So feel free to join. And I'll leave that up as we say thank you and goodbye. Thanks to all of you.